Someone you love is going to die. You already know this. You carry it quietly, the way most people do. But here is what you probably do not know. The moment it happens, the things you will feel, the rituals you will reach for, the overwhelming need to gather, to speak, to mark the moment in some way. None of that is modern. None of it came from religion or culture or civilization. It is far, far older than any of that. What ancient humans actually did when someone died is one of the most surprising stories in all of science, because what they did looks almost exactly like what you do, and that fact alone changes everything about what it means to be human. It starts with a cave. In 2015, deep inside a cave system in South Africa called Rising Star, a team of scientists made a discovery that shook the field of paleoanthropology to its foundation. They found the bones of a creature called Homo Naledi, a distant cousin of yours, buried in a chamber so remote and so difficult to reach that the only way to access it was through a passage 7 inches wide. Researcher Lee Berger led the excavation, and what he found inside that chamber was not random. The bones were placed deliberately. The bodies had been brought there intentionally by other members of their group. Homo Naledi had a brain roughly the size of an orange, a third the size of yours. And yet, somehow, they were carrying their dead to a place of deliberate rest. This was not supposed to be possible. The scientific consensus had long held that ritual treatment of the dead was a uniquely modern human behavior, something that emerged alongside language, symbolic thought, and complex culture. But Homo Naledi had none of those things, at least not in the way we once assumed. And yet here they were, deep in a cave, doing something that looked unmistakably like burial. The question is why? The simplest answer is also the most profound. Your ancestors could not leave their dead behind, not because of any rule or belief system, because something in them would not allow it. Something wired into the social brain of early hominids made the presence of a dead group member feel different from the presence of a dead animal. It felt wrong to abandon them. It felt necessary to do something. Scientists call this response neophobia toward the dead. The body of someone familiar, now changed, creates a deeply uncomfortable cognitive state. The brain recognizes the face, the form, the smell of someone it has mapped as safe, as known, as us. And then the signals that made that person alive simply stop. The brain does not know what to do with this. It has never evolved a clean-off switch for the bonds it builds with the living. So the group does something. Anthropologist Barbara King spent years studying grief responses across primate species, and what she found was striking. Chimpanzees return to the bodies of dead companions. They sit with them. They groom them. They carry their dead infants for days, sometimes weeks, long after decomposition has begun. Elephants return to the bones of their dead, run their trunks over the remains of individuals they knew, and stand in silence. These are not random behaviors. They are expressions of something that functions, at a neurological level, remarkably like grief. Your ancestors were doing this 2 million years before you were born. But it did not stop at presence. It evolved. As hominid brains grew larger and social bonds became more complex, the response to death became more elaborate. By the time Homo sapiens arrived, roughly 300,000 years ago, something new had entered the picture. Symbolism. In a site called School Cave in Israel, archaeologists found the remains of early modern humans buried with seashells, not because the shells were food, because they meant something. In Kafsa Cave, also in Israel, researchers uncovered bodies buried with red ochre powder and antler fragments arranged in deliberate patterns around the dead. These were not accidents of geology. These were choices. Someone had gathered these objects, carried them to this place, and arranged them with intention. The first grave goods. The first evidence that your ancestors believed, or at least hoped, that something of the person continued after the body stopped. Researcher Francesco De Rico has studied these sites extensively and argues that what we are seeing is the birth of something enormous. The moment humans began treating death not just as an event, but as a threshold, a passage, an ending that required a response equal to its magnitude. And that response has never stopped evolving. Every culture in the history of your species has developed rituals around death. Every single one. There is not a single human society ever documented, from the most isolated island community to the largest ancient civilization, that did not have some formal practice around what to do when a member died. This is not coincidence. This is biology expressing itself through culture. The anthropologist Ernest Becker argued in his landmark work that the awareness of death is the engine of human civilization, that everything your species has ever built, every monument, every religion, every artistic tradition, every drive toward legacy and meaning is in some way a response to the knowledge that you will die. He called it the denial of death. The idea that culture itself is a massive collective effort to make death mean something other than the end. And the evidence from the ancient record suggests he was right. Because your ancestors did not just bury their dead. They began telling stories about what happened to them. They painted images on cave walls of beings that passed between worlds. They left food and tools in graves as if the dead might need them. They created the idea of an afterlife not because someone instructed them to, but because the alternative was unbearable. The bond did not break at death, so they imagined a place where it did not have to. What does this mean for you? It means that the grief you feel when you lose someone is not a weakness. It is not dysfunction. It is the precise sensation of a bond that was real, built over thousands of hours of shared experience, now encountering an absence it was never designed to accommodate. Your brain built a model of that person. It used them as a landmark in your world. And now the landmark is gone, and your nervous system keeps reaching for it and finding nothing. That reaching is ancient. That ache is old as your species. Every human who has ever lived has felt exactly what you feel in those first days after a loss. That disorientation, that sense that the world has subtly and permanently changed shape. You are not alone in it. You have never been alone in it. You are part of a chain of grievers stretching back 2 million years to a small-brained creature carrying someone it loved into the dark of a cave because it simply could not do nothing. The candles you light, the words you speak over the body, the gathering of people who knew them, the stories you tell about who they were. You did not invent any of that. You inherited it. From every human who came before you, all the way back to the beginning. All the way back to a hand reaching into the dark, refusing to let go.